Hey folks, welcome to the Cigar Fellowship. I'm Johnny Nova, and today we've got another one of those cigars you could get in just about any tobacco shop or any cigar's humidor. I know we strayed a little bit with last week's review. I did one that you can get primarily online, but I thought it warranted it because it's a really good cigar and it's something a little different, and I want to try to turn you guys onto some different stuff. But today we're going to do the My Father Blue, which everybody's heard of, and probably most of you have tried it. If you haven't, we're going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you some little education on it. Maybe you look at it in a different light. Maybe you'll revisit it. Maybe not. Maybe I'll say something that'll trigger you to be like, yeah, that's why I didn't care for it, you know. So the My Father Blue, it was released this time last year, July 2025, and it has, you know, the Roman numerals MMXXV right on the band, which says 2025. I'll show you the band. I'll also, when I edit, I'll put a big picture of it up over my head or next to me somewhere. The wrapper is Connecticut broadleaf rosado. You've got a Honduran binder and pretty cool filler. You've got Honduran Corojo and Honduran Criollo. I'll get back to that in a second. It's a regular production cigar, so they're gonna have it all the time, and it's out of their factory in Honduras, which is also kind of new. I feel like they bought some farmland not too long ago in Honduras. And then, not that it was a secret, but they got this factory going, and sure enough, they started popping out these My Father cigars. And as far as I know, this is the only cigar they're making there. I guess they wanted a presence there. You know, the farm, it takes time. You have to grow the stuff and dry it and ferment it and, you know, get it ready, you know, whatever different tobaccos they're growing over there. And it's a medium strength cigar. So I'm going to light it up for you right now. But before I move on to that, I wanted to just say a couple of weeks ago on Cigars Unbanded, they had the guy Terrence from Aganorsa Leaf, which is a huge family that supplies, as we discussed last video, with a lot of people with tobacco. Probably, you know, 60, 70% of the stuff you're smoking, one part of that tobacco, that cigar's tobacco came from an Aganorsa farm, just huge. And what the guy did was, you know, they take the band off the cigar. It's like a blind taste testing, right? They send you the cigars in the mail, and then I'm not going to tout their stuff again. I did it a couple of videos ago. They're pretty cool, but it's a blind taste testing, and everybody gets the same cigar in the mail, and you taste it, and then you compare and contrast your ideas. What this guy did was, since they were having this guy on the show, he wanted to educate us a little bit. So he actually gave us a rolled piece of Corojo tobacco and a rolled piece of Criollo tobacco. One was 98, one was 99. And we lit it and smoked it independently and evaluated it and pick up, you know, tasting notes off it. And then we did the Corojo, then we did the Criollo. Then we actually squeezed them together and smoked them both together. It was a pretty cool learning experience, because you see what they're like separately and then what they taste like when they're meshed together. And that's only 2 leaves. So, you know, the Corojo was just like, what did I write down here? It was like a little bit more pepper and more cedar on the Corojo. You know, it probably not, you know, a rule of thumb for all the time. And then the Criollo was like sweet and nutty. But I thought that was pretty cool. You could go on YouTube and you could look that up. Terrence from Aganorsa Leaf on Cigars Unbanded, if you're into it and you want to like learn some stuff. It's pretty interesting. So as you can see, we have a dark brown cigar, right? It's got a double band design, which is beautiful. And there you have the Roman numerals for 2025, basically MMXXV, right? You've got a blue ribbon footband, slides right off. Not going to need that anymore. It's a Toro 6x54. That's what I smoked. Box pressed, they're all box pressed. If you can see, nicely scrunged, layered in there. Looks good. You know, you expect nothing else from My Father. So they've got, so now they have 2 factories in Nicaragua, the one in Honduras, and they've got a small rolling factory in Miami. So they have a presence in like 3 countries now. That's pretty cool. If you smell it, not a lot. I'm picking up like light nougat. And it is solid but light. Solid but light. You know? So let me give this a quick cut. I always use my V cutter, my Calibri V cutter. Give it a shot. Boom. Nice clear draw. And I always like to do the cold draw. And there I'm picking up a little apricot, a little bit of leather. First thing pops into my head. So what I usually do is I smoked 2 of these in the last week. Smoke one. I give it some thoughts. I don't really take any notes. I smoke another one and I have a checklist of stuff that I think is important. And I kind of like check off the boxes and I write stuff down. That's how I give you like my evaluation of the cigar. I'm going to toast this up right now. I have to be careful with YouTube. I'm going to toast it nice and slow. I don't like to rush it. You got to be careful because they don't like you up in front with the cigars. You know, they don't want me, you could show someone smoking a cigar, even like, blowing the smoke out, but they don't want it like front and center. They don't want it to be the main focus of the entire video. So you may see me like leaning off here and there, and I've only got a couple of videos out and I don't want to get squashed right away. So I'm just going to be careful. But when I toast a cigar, I'll take 30 seconds to a minute. Like I don't like rushing it, man. I'm always like, to me, this is, I mean, you guys are ruining it for me, right? Because I'm talking to the camera, but it's a quiet time and I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just looking at the flame. I'm looking at the foot of the cigar. And I always want to try to get it where once I'm done toasting, I don't have to light it again. I don't know if that's going to happen here now because I'm under pressure. All right, so like as you can see, I don't want to make this front and center here, but so some talking points about this cigar. So I already told you about the factories, and the Garcia family is huge. So they're selling tobacco all over the place, and I mentioned that in my last video too. It's pretty interesting stuff. They don't just make their own stuff, and my father's got a lot of good cigars. Judge, Le Bijou, if you know, you know. If not, smoke those, try them. They make cigars for Tatuaje, San Cristobal, La Roma de Cuba, Ashton, Crown Heads, Atelier. I have no idea what they're going to do with the factory in Honduras. Obviously, they're going to make cigars. They're not stupid. They know how to make money. It's their business. They did it for a reason. When this cigar came out, there was a lot of hype about it. And I feel like it got a little bit of a bad reputation because they hyped this cigar so much, like it was the second coming of cigars. And people were trying this cigar expecting like the next greatest opus, so they was tasting the cigar with really high expectations. But can you believe this fucking guy on a Sunday with this fucking thing? Anyway, I'm sorry about the sound in the background. I got a jerk off fucking neighbor. I really do. Relax with my cigar. Anyway, so it got a 50-50 response, right? Some people really liked it. Some people were like, it's not so big. And I think it was because of the hype. It was hyped up so big. And that's because they had built a new factory. They had just bought the farm, and it's the only cigar they were making out of there. It's the first time with Honduran tobacco in it, whatever. I'll give you my whole take on it. But that's what I feel. I feel like if you tried this when it first came out and you weren't thrilled with it, maybe revisit it. They've been resting now for a while, wherever they've been lying, whether you didn't, whether you bought a couple and you haven't gone back to them, or whether they've been resting in your, in the humidor or the tobacco shop that you went to. But I find Honduran tobacco really nice, right? I feel like you get a little caramel, a little nuttiness out of them. If you ever smoked like Leaf by Oscar, he's got Honduran tobacco in it. I like it. I think it's something different worth checking out, So we're going to get into thirds. As you know, I don't like pause the camera, give you my thoughts on the first third, second third. I'm not like a professional reviewer like that. I have a checklist. That's what I use. And as I'm going along with this, the first thing that popped into my head was raisins and cornflakes. Right? That's what popped into my head. Raisins and cornflakes. I would say dominant, though, would be more chocolatey and nougat. This thing is a chocolate bomb, especially if you let it sit. It didn't taste overly complex. It tasted simple, but I knew there were things going on in it, right? And the mouthfeel was, I would say, like a buttery, creamy mouthfeel, okay? Medium body cigar. You're the third one I've had in a week, so I'm pretty familiar with them, and I've had them in the past. On the retro, a little bit of red pepper and some woodsiness. Definitely some woodsiness. Sides of the tongue, espresso. Short finish, I would say. Definitely the cornflakes and some cedar. And on the long finish, espresso and chocolate on the tongue. That's what I would say. Full smoke output, as you could see. It's not very humid today. It's beautiful out, quite comfortable. Light on the nicotine. I never noticed a big nicotine hit. You know, I always mention that, even from the ones I smoked prior to this. And the draw is on par. The draw is perfect. The burn line, manageable. Not straight. You have to touch it up once in a while. A little bit wonky, but manageable. It was fine. So we're going to talk about the second third. Get a little coffee going here. Second third, there was a little bit of flavor development with the more nougaty chocolate was coming forward, and there was a new flavor, maybe some leather, picking up a little bit of leather in there. There was an increase in like that raisiny apricot-y flavor that ramped up a little bit. Still medium bodied. It starts medium, ends medium. Doesn't go anywhere. Pretty good. Sides of the tongue, espresso, short finish, same thing. Bit of chocolate, raisins. If I hold it longer, you're going to pick up more cedar on the long finish, right? But not in a bad way. I mean, it's part of the cigar. But when you do a long finish, you got to let it stay in your mouth for a little bit. You know, count a few seconds and then see what's left over on your tongue and in your palate, what you're tasting, you know. The smoke texture remains creamy and buttery, a full smoke output. And once again, you know, it's right now it's burning beautifully, right? It's burning very nicely. Every once in a while, it's a little wonky burn, nothing unmanageable, and the draw is always great. Never have a problem with it going out. Construction, you know, overall, I have to say is pretty good. And again, at the end, I would say nicotine, not an issue, not an issue. Going into the final third, there was a little flavor development with some cedar and some honey. What I put down here, the raisins were still there. I would say the peak of this cigar would have to be the midway point, with the introduction of like the apricot-y raisin came forward a little bit. Everything was kind of like meshing together nicely, and it was a good marriage of flavors was going on. Stayed medium bodied. The cedar turned into something interesting. You ever like in a forest and there's like layers and layers and layers of not wet but dried leaves, and you step on it and you crunch and you get that smell, that like that type of woodsy smell. That's what the cedar kind of turned into. And I know it's not like a very attractive description, but it's not unpleasant, I have to say. You know, I kind of like that nature type smell, whether it's barnyard or foresty or earthy. I enjoy that. Pepper backed off a lot on the retrohale. Sides of the tongue, coffee. Those dried leaves I was telling you about, dried leaves / cedar. The smoke texture was full, light and creamy. This time, I mean, I'm only in the first third, and I'm talking to you about the final third because I'm just having the cigar, you know, telling you about what my notes were. But the draw on all the cigars have been perfect. The burn sometimes got a little wonky where you might have to, like, you know, edge it a little bit, but nothing nuts. And the construction was good. Nicotine, mild to medium, I would say, on the nicotine on this one. Final thoughts. Great medium-bodied cigar, full of flavor. I would say that this is box-worthy. I'm going to tell you why. Something interesting happened with this cigar. I was kind of late getting the. I'm so distracted with this fuck face on a Sunday with his fucking buzzer. I don't know what he's got. Some kind of electric fucking cheap fucking shit, I'm sure. Anyway, one of the cigars I lit, and I didn't even get like, I smoked like an inch of it and I had to put it down. And then I wasn't going to smoke anymore. So I just kind of like made sure it was out. A few hours went by, I put it in a shed. And the next day I brought it out and I smoked it again. And it tasted really great, but I didn't finish it again. I got busy with something, whatever. The third night, I was sitting in the backyard. It was beautiful. I was watching something, flipping around, watching something, probably playing with my phone more than anything. And I smoked a cigar, and it was a quick one, and it was beautiful. And I was like, I want another one. But I didn't want like a whole big long one. And I said, I had this one, it was already burnt. It's the third time I'm lighting it now. And I noticed each time I lit it, it got better. Kind of like if you make like a really good sauce or chili, right? And then you put it in the fridge, you take it out the next day, you heat it up, tastes even better. I'm not saying that's how it works with cigars. Don't, you know. What I'm saying is this cigar, that tells me that this cigar is probably do really well with some aging, right? So when I say box worthy, yes, because now I know that tells me that's a definitive sign that if I buy this and I take out 2 or 3 and I take them out of the wrapper and I take care of them and I put them in a cedar box, if it doesn't come in a cedar box, I'm not sure what kind of box it comes in. And you take care of them for a year, I know they're going to be flavor bombs. Because on that one cigar that I lit on 3 separate occasions, like I'm with the farm, like I can't afford a fucking cigar, I had to keep lighting the same one. It was fucking delicious. It kept getting better every time I lit it. And I smoked that thing down to the nub. It was fantastic. It really was. Let me see if I got anything left here. Yeah, so, you know, if you tried these already and you aren't thrilled, go back to it, because there was a lot of hype when they came out. Go back to it with, you know, maybe, you know, a clear head or a little, you know, lessen your expectations a little bit. And you might find it a pretty enjoyable cigar for, you know, again, same thing with prices. They don't like you naming prices because they kind of feel like you're selling tobacco or something like that. But, you know, if you took 5 times 3 or 6 times 3, if you're on the East or West Coast, that's about what they go for in New York or California, I would say. You know, the rest of the country, you know, the middle of the country is North and South, might be cheaper. Probably is cheaper. It is cheaper. That's all I got for you on this one, on this beautiful My Father cigar, on this beautiful day with my fuck-faced neighbor and his fucking piece of shit fucking electric blower and the planes flying over when usually it's fucking quiet for like hours at a time. But when I want to do something, anyhow, I love you guys. I hope I gave you some good information on the cigar. Maybe you revisit it again. And yeah, that's all I got. So what I would tell you guys is earn your cigars. I always say earn your cigars, right? Make sure you get something done. Clean out the garage, do your lawn work, get to the gym, you know, take care of yourself, earn your cigars, man. Don't just sit around all day and fucking do nothing and then light up your cigars. Like, keep yourself healthy, right? You gotta keep yourself healthy and you gotta do the right thing. And most importantly, you gotta keep your peace. We wish you guys peace.